Welcome to In Cadence, Season 1, Episode 14. Welcome, PAX everywhere. Everyone listening, let's go.
Yeah, good day, everyone. Welcome to the 14th episode. My name is Keith. I'm 43. My F3 name is Flea.
I'm Ken, and the Gloom Packs call me Shredder, and you may or may already not know I'm 51.
Respect.
Thank you.
And our epic guest with us.
I'm Neil, I'm 40, and my packs know me as Ultra.
Well, Ultra, we're really glad to have you here tonight. And we know what we're about to do to you, but you don't know the full extent. Because of our wonderful Brummy brothers, we've been suggested that we do a bit of cheese or chocolate with you. Do you understand the premise?
No, go for it.
Okay, so we'll suggest something like cheese or chocolate, and you have to choose which one that you permanently pick, and that's then your one. So if we did cheese or chocolate, what would you pick?
Cheese.
Simple.
Good
You'll be good at this. Go on then, Flea, kick us off.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the first question. Cake or sweets?
Sweet.
Red or blue?
Blue.
Comfort or speed?
Speed.
Sun or moon?
Moon.
Birthday or Christmas?
Christmas.
Hot or cold?
Cold.
Cowabungas or 11s?
Cowabungas.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
A lot of surprising answers coming out here, Flea. I feel shook. Go on, keep going.
Mint sauce or horseradish?
Mint sauce.
Shorts or leggings?
Shorts.
For exercise, not pleasure. I would I? Do you
Bricks
wear
or
shorts? Oh, sorry. Go on.
It's okay. No, we'll
No,
come
I
back.
wanna
That's a really
know.
important question because I believe some packs in certain regions in the UK do frown upon leggings worn in work.
There is a bit of an issue, isn't there? So do you do BDs in shorts
Yes.
in Newcastle in the winter?
Yeah.
He's
Well,
a
it's-
hardy
if
man.
If it's really, really, really cold, like one of the first ones we did was like -8. I did then, but generally no, it's shorts.
Look at that. Look at that. He's made
-8.
tough stuff.
So -8 conversion, what's that, about -40 Fahrenheit, -45 Fahrenheit, something like that?
That is
Our
seriously
American
cold.
listeners. Yeah, it's on the cold side.
We had -6 recently, and I think even the hardiest short wearer in London had converted at that point to something to cover up that skin. Okay, go on then. Give us the one I interrupted. Grand apologies.
Yeah, no problem. Bricks or Cindy's?
Bricks, because we're more used to them.
Interesting. And then finally, flapjack or brownies.
Brownies.
There's a bit of mysteriousness in this man, isn't there? I'm looking forward to
I think
peeling back the layers.
I think there's some subjectiveness as well. I think the mint sauce or horseradish question is subjective to what you're eating with it.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think I could go to have a roast lamb Sunday lunch with horseradish. Something that would feel a little bit. I'm a mint sauce guy with lamb.
Yeah.
Interesting. How do you have your lamb though? Do you want it?
How well cooked, you mean?
Oh yeah,
Well, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, definitely cooked. Everything else is weird.
Just
So, I mean, do you want it pink or do you want it ruined?
No, mine's well done. Very ruined.
Okay. So you should have had chicken. What about you, Flea?
Oh, I'm at the pink end, always on the pink end of everything, apart from chicken.
Yes, apart from chicken.
I will take most of my red meats at the pink end.
But you'd still go with mint sauce over horseradish.
I do love horseradish. I love horseradish with smoked salmon. That's a curveball. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're a bit of a connoisseur with smoked salmon, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah, I've got to. If I'm not paying for it, I'll eat loads of it.
well, absolutely. I mean, any sane man would, wouldn't they? Horseradish and mint sauce. I might have to add that onto my list. I mean, I like the sort of weird combos, like Marmite and banana is a great pairing. Try it, but horseradish and salmon. I'm gonna even write that down.
Yeah, it's enough messing around with my food choices in Shredder's weird combinations.
Nice to know, though, isn't it? You know what's important in life.
I already predicted Ninja Creamy chat coming on towards the end of this episode,
Oh,
so
we need to have
we'll
a
come
Ninja
back.
Creamy
We'll
chat.
come back to that. Yeah,
We see if we can
but more
convert Ultra.
importantly, Lee, let's guess how Ultra got his F3 name.
Okay, that's a good
Let's
idea.
get it back to the agenda and have some degree of professionalism.
I got to go first tonight, haven't I? So I've been thinking about this. And what I want something really cool. I want this thing where it has to do with like a 1980s superhero or a transformer or something where his hero was someone called Ultra. And that's what I want. So, and there's no point in having cake if you can't eat it. So that's my theory. You're named after your superhero favorite.
I was going to go down that route, but to go off in a completely different direction, it'll be named after some sort of weird energy drink or something that you like, some Ultra Red Bull equivalent or knockoff.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay. What's the truth, brother?
So both wrong, but it's interesting what you said there, Shredder, because that's kind of the way my wife looks at my F3 name in terms of it being like more like a superhero kind of element in the way she describes it. It's as simple as it comes down to running. So during my Namerama, I spoke a lot about how my main passion in fitness was running, but I absolutely hated road running, anything flat. You give us a hill. My running was always just about going out and getting as much elevation gain as possible, not about speed. But I had some issues with ankle injuries from playing basketball in college and stuff like that. So it's always kind of been niggling throughout my running. And that's the one thing that stopped me getting to doing an ultra run. I was building up the distance and I was really enjoying my running. And I just thought I'm going to get to a point where if my ankle goes again, going to put myself out of fitness forever. I just, I unfortunately didn't achieve what I wanted to do by doing an ultra run, but that's what I was talking about when I was doing the Namerama, so that's what they gave me.
Can you still do sort of decent rucking? Can you walk with weight and do that sort of exercise?
I'm fine running. I think it's just I took a lot of risks with the kind of running I was doing. I was trying to run up the side of mountain climbs and I tried to get steeper and steeper hills. And I rolled my ankle quite badly on a organised 10K, but then continued and completed the race. And I think I probably caused more damage than I needed to. When I'm exercising, I just need to be careful.
Passionate man. Good. Thank you for that.
So did you actually get to an ultra, or is it an aspiration to still do an ultra?
I don't think I'll probably ever get one because even though I feel stronger than I ever have done doing F3, I think the time to put into the training, I just don't think it's there with lifestyle at the minute and work commitments.
A lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely a lot.
It becomes a hard job. Getting those miles in, getting the training in for something like that is a significant amount of work.
At least you recognise the season you're in at the moment, and that sometimes is a good way for a man to not then get too frustrated. You know what's going on, you know what your commitments are, and you kind of go, right, I can't do that at the moment. And you never know, it may come back around. It's possible, isn't it?
It is.
Well, Ultra, thank you for sharing your name with us. Let's keep going then.
Cool. Next question from me, relating to music. And I'm fully aware that the Northeast region in the UK loves a bit of music going on. What do you like to do when you're queuing?
Like the weirder and wonderful is better for me. There's one in particular that I want to share with you as well. So music has always been probably the biggest element of my life growing up. It still is to this day. It is in the house. There's always music on in the background of the house. Kids have got very eclectic tastes despite them being quite young. But my taste generally goes towards more of the rock element. The heavier the better. But I also have a big passion for crossover music where you might have like a heavy metal band with a country and western artist and something that you really wouldn't think would ever work, but it really does. And it creates something beautiful. So one particular beatdown, I was queuing And, you'll be aware of the phrase, obviously, that F3's not a cult, but it's not a cult. So I did a beatdown just titled, It's Not a Cult.
Not a cult.
My whole call to action and the word was all around the links and how things are similar from F3 to a cult, but then obviously there's some elements that are massively different. And I've got one particular song that I threw in there. It's a song by a Mongolian folk metal band. So you probably wouldn't have ever heard of them. I think you should look into them, especially you, Shredder, if your tastes are a bit heavier. They have a huge back catalogue of their own music, all sung in Mongolian. It's all Mongolian kind of folk, but with heavy guitars. It's very like war chanting and all that kind of stuff, like war cry type music.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've re-released some of that music with some famous rock singers. So they've done a song with the singer from Papa Roach. And obviously he sings English lyrics to it. But the song itself sounds like something a cult would listen to in the background while they're, dancing around with pitchforks, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's what I envisioned when I saw it. And I used that as a music round, and just the reactions of the packs that were there. I think there was about 16 people there, and it's the looks on people's faces when they realise that there's dog walkers going past, and it just sounds really creepy. It sounds like we're actually a cult, and it just really, really fitted. But it was a brilliant 5-minute music round that absolutely wiped people out as well.
Are you talking about The Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I know The Who. That's HU, just in case anybody's going.
Not the My Generation one, yeah.
Yeah. They're quite clever. I've listened to a little bit of them. I don't think they play Download when I've been, or at least if they played it was on a day I wasn't there. Guardian from the Midlands is a big metal fan as well. Interesting.
I'm impressed that you know them. Not many people do.
Well, when you said a Mongolian band that were using kind of rocky metal, I'm like, well, unless it's The Who, then I'm tapping out. I like music too, and Flea does, and I think most packs like it in some form. That again, deep man of mystery. Should have called you Mysterio or something.
I like I keep people guessing with the music rounds.
It's really good. And that did you do a kind of standard? The song was being played and you gave them an exercise, or did you make call outs where you kind of did 30 seconds of something and then switched to?
The thing with my music rounds is it has to work exactly to the music. So each exercise has to go in time and rhythm perfectly with the beat. I know a lot of the packs do, right, we're going to do this for 36 and then this. Mine has to go perfect. So I sit and work on them quite a lot in terms of like timings of plank jacks into merkins and all that kind of stuff, and groiners and what have you, but it works in rhythm with the music. So
okay. And have you got a musical background then, or is that just your?
Yeah, I've always loved music. I've played guitars growing up, drums, stuff like that. So
that's another one, Shredder, for the F3 UK band that we're going to get together.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just going to come and cheer because I ain't singing. I say that to people on a Sunday. I'm like, God said, make a joyful noise, not a tuneful one. Good. Shall we jump into the thing then? Shall we ask you some questions about life and being a PAX and all of those things? You up for that?
Yeah.
Good. Will you tell us then, because you've just said a little bit about sort of life and loves there, but you kind of give us a sense of your journey of how you came to be in F3.
Yeah, of course. So beginning of last year, obviously the Northeast was set up in January of last year. It's entirely stopped running by that point, probably for about 7 or 8 months due to the injury that I mentioned. I just gave up wanting to take the risk of further injury. I got to the point where I'm not ashamed to admit I was quite down about my fitness. I just felt like I couldn't risk anything, but I wanted to be fit. Don't get us wrong, I was no way, shape or form overweight or anything like that. I just wasn't in the place that I was before, where going out and running 15, 20 miles up and down hills repeatedly was something I enjoyed doing. And then you get to the point where you're walking upstairs at work. You didn't feel walking up 11 flights of stairs in my old job. It just didn't bother you. You start to feel different. You start to feel like You're getting aches and pains you didn't have before. And I just thought, I've got to do something. And to be honest with you, it was my wife just basically said to us, you've got to stop complaining. You've got to just do something about it, which is generally the outlook I need. I need somebody to give us a bit of a kick up the backside. And I was sitting looking on my phone for, can I walk to the local leisure centre and do some swimming, which is 2 miles away, do some swimming and walk back again. How much is going to cost for a monthly pass or a daily pass? And then I could build that up to maybe thinking, well, maybe I could jog there, swim and then walk back, and then build the running up that way and maybe get back into it a little bit. Literally as I was searching for prices for passes for swimming, a message came up on the top of my phone from a friend of mine who was one of the football dads of the team that I coach. Our 2 sons have played football together for the last going on 4 years now. It came across the top, and that person is who you will know as Westy. Now, his message to me was just a link to the F3 Northeast Facebook page, and all his message said was Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 till 6:45, Barmo Hub basketball court. And then underneath it, he sent us another message, which I've got on my phone. Just want to read it out here because I feel it's quite important. First official session took place on Tuesday. We had 8 there. It was fantastic. Ideal for you and completely open to when you can and can't make it. No pressure, but it will fast become a priority in your life, I promise. Now, I can't stress how accurate that is. Now, I've always had a lot of respect for, obviously I know him as Chris Shep, but I've always had a lot of respect for him. I think he's a very knowledgeable man. I've got a lot of time for listening to him, talking to him. So anything that he says is good. Generally, I'll take that as gospel. I replied to him, said, yeah, sounds good. And I don't doubt that it would be a priority. I'll just see what I can do with my shifts. Turned up on that Friday morning, absolutely terrified because I thought, there's a load of blokes here. You never know how much the fitness level is. You never know how much fitness I've lost in the last sort of year. But there was a few things that kind of made it easier. I wasn't the only FNG that day. There was one more. Obviously, I've known Westy for quite a while as football dads, and I know how supportive he is. So I know if there's any issues, he'd always be there to kind of look out for you. But also, it was pitch black. It was freezing cold. So if I made an idiot of myself, no one's really going to actually see because it was that dark. And so there's less chance that anybody could notice the mistake you make or, not doing reps properly or anything like that. But it was, that was just the start of the journey. I've now done over 100 beatdowns. I've queued 19 times myself this year, which probably would have been more if it wasn't for a change in job role. I loved being down at the Convergence in Birmingham. Obviously, we're queued down there. There was 4 of us from the Northeast to the music station down there. And that was just an amazing experience, being able to queue for other packs. Very nerve-wracking, I'll be honest, but it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Personally, I can't even begin to explain kind of how important F3's been to me this last year. I've had a lot going on in my personal life in the last year, and that side of needing to be back into exercise and feeling like I was gaining the fitness back was one thing, but the other side of it in terms of like the mental health side of things and feeling you've woke up and you started your day the right way is a big part of what helped me focus on my old job better. So going to work thinking it actually doesn't matter what happens today because I'm in a good mood and nobody's going to knock me out of that. Whereas on days when I wasn't doing beatdowns, you go in that little bit more anxious. It was kind of like that setting you up for your day was more important than anything I ever realized. But I'm also one of those weird kind of psychopaths that enjoys feeling like I'm really hurting. So when my muscles feel aching, I say, right, I've done enough. I've done something. They'll eventually cool down. But I kind of like that side of the pain. Don't want to lower the mood too much on this podcast, but beginning of last year, so obviously we started that in January. My family had a bereavement in February. My brother suddenly passed away end of February last year. And based on how well F3 was making me feel at the time, in terms of my own mental health, I'm not entirely sure how I would have coped as well without that element. It was a tough time. It still is. But I had that support network around us of the packs that were there. And they were unbelievable. People that I 6 weeks prior to that, I'd never met, apart from Chris. I'd never met any of them. And having those kind of shoulders to lean on, despite not actually wanting to talk about it much, was just enough and to want to keep you going back and like not pulling away.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Ultra. I mean, thank you for it's a great insight into how you started, and obviously big condolences, and thank you for sharing about the really personal matter there. I think the summary that I've heard of you guys referenced about this, about that having that thing in the morning, it's always there. You go out, you do it early. It's having an anchor, having that anchor in your life gives you that little bit of stability. Like you say, I'm like you. I've got that. I've got that feeling where my legs are throbbing by the end of the night, which are now from this morning. You feel you've done good.
Yeah.
To go into the day having that, you met up with a bunch of guys, like you say, you may not have known them for a long time, but the fact that you've seen them and you've worked out with them, and then you go into the day coming out of the back of that, it does put you in a positive mood. And I'm like you, if I've missed a beatdown or I'm downrange with work or I've not got the opportunity to go for whatever reason, I feel I've missed that in the morning. And there's definitely a missing out feeling.
Yeah.
So everything you said completely resonates to me, apart from the long distance running, of course. That's cannot relate to that. Shredder, do you have any feedback or any comments on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the testimonies we get off many people, obviously here, but also just in the gloom, about that sense of having brothers. And one of the other podcasts in the last couple of weeks, I think it may have been the Whetstone again, we're talking about who are your 5 a.m. friends, the people that when it all goes to crap, you'd call. And like you say, apart from Westy, 6 weeks before that, you didn't know them, and life's happening, and I've been looking at this stuff to do with trying to be more neutral to the way I see things, and a lot of the stuff that happens in life is quite neutral, but a bereavement like that is a massive thing, and we're just not programmed often as men by culture to even recognize our need, and it's just really heartening to hear that they've been there for you. Just really heartening to hear that they've been there for you, and that's not unusual testimony. If people are listening, that's normal in our world, obviously in Leeds and in the Midlands. I don't know if you guys did it in the Northeast, but people were remembering Cardinal's death and the Convergence again in the last couple of weeks. And the way I see men in FV all over the world step up, I just think that's an ultra superpower. That is phenomenal. So yeah, I just feel really grateful for you to share that with us, and I'm glad we've got you on here to talk. So thank you for what you've shared so far.
Talking of superpowers, tell us about the superhero beatdown that I've heard about.
Oh, who's told you about that one? Yeah, so one of the other themes that I did was superheroes. I generally get all of my ideas for my beatdowns from a song. It comes from music first, not specifically a theme that I think, right, I'm going to do that. Even the Mongolian one, it came from the song because it just to me it resonated as this is a very culty song. So I heard a particular song and I thought this. They won't expect this one. So if I do a theme of superheroes, they'll think, oh, is it something to do with like a Marvel song that's been in one of the films or anything like that? No, I used the Super Mario Brothers theme tune. But I did a double back-to-back music round, so I found two versions. The original version of the song, which is all of the bits when you're playing through the levels, just plays all through.
Going through my head right now.
Yeah.
Literally going through my head right now. I'm hearing the jumps and the pings and the do. Yeah.
And then I found basically a rave version. So we did the first music round right at the end, and it was only about 2 minutes 18 long, and everyone was done. And I put a little pause in it. I had one of the packs prepped just in case I didn't get the right answer. I said to one of the lad DJ, I'm going to ask a question after the music round, and if nobody guesses it, just the answer is he gets faster. So we stopped. Everyone went to turn around and go and get the water bottles to come back in for the Circle of Trust. And I said, oh, hang on a second. Can anybody tell us what happens when Mario picks up one of those stars? And obviously a couple of people said, oh, like he goes glowing. And obviously somebody said, oh, he gets faster. And the gap was only about 10 seconds on. He does get faster. And then the music kicked in for the rave version. So we did a secondary music round, which was a lot harder and a lot faster. And they kind of loved that one. The element that I'll have to tell you, because I feel like you already know this, myself, Westy, and DJ did that beatdown with our underpants, or boxer shorts, sorry, on top of our other shorts, because that's how Superman would wear them.
You didn't have the overalls and the
No,
the painter's coveralls.
it was normal workout gear, but I wore an extra pair of shorts over the top, and then as I did the call to action, and then the three of us dropped our shorts. The frustrating thing was there was an FNG there that day who hasn't been back very much. There's a chance that might have put him off. He's been back a few times, but we haven't seen him for a little while, so maybe we need to keep it not
Was
quite
probably
as
worried
weird.
about getting named Banana Hammock or something, something
Possibly,
speedo
yes.
related.
Possibly, yes. But that was a very good beatdown. I enjoyed that one. That's the kind of things I throw in there.
It's funny you mentioned bananas. No, I haven't got any pictures or anything to put on the screen right now.
Is this a pants picture?
There's a picture that's just gone up on the screen for those who are listening on audio podcasts. For those on YouTube, what about the pleasure of seeing said over pants?
Is this Chris? Have you been stitched up here by Westy? Is that what we're saying?
No, it's actually for the first time in a long time for the In Cadence show. I've actually done some prep and some homework. So I thought, yeah, why not?
I was just going to say, because if it was Westy, this is Westy who came to the Valadae and basically left almost all of his clothes in Guildford, and then got the train back up to Newcastle. And he was messaging us all because he said there's like a sort of girlfriend's party on the train. He said, and I feel like I smell like a wet dog that's been dragged through a bush backwards. I thought he'd stitched you up. He's a good lad, though, isn't he? He's a good lad.
I like just going back to that music round again. The convergence there was that infamous Postman Pat round that I absolutely loved. That was great.
Was that you, Postman Pat?
No, the Postman Pat beatdown was Westy's.
But there was four. You had four, didn't you, that shared the queuing on the day, doing the same.
Yeah.
I mean, for the American packs out there, you perhaps don't know who Postman Pat is. You haven't lived, brothers, until you've seen Postman Pat. If you want to understand why our postal service has no money, it's because Postman Pat has like 10 vehicles in his tiny village. He's got planes and all that.
A helicopter, yeah. I was quite surprised by that, to deliver a few letters.
I know. Anyway, that's why people have gone over to Every, because...
So just flashing back to the first time you showed up in the gloom, and it was dark and it was cold, and I think it was January 2025, it would have been, wouldn't it? Just tell us a little bit about that first session and what went down, and did you have a battle buddy? Those gives us somebody like that.
Yeah, not a battle buddy as such, because everybody that was there had done one session on the Tuesday. So obviously Westy had set it up. He'd had one other packs with him just to test some sessions and like basically learn how to queue and all that kind of thing. So there was 8 on the first one, so I think 6 of them were FNGs, and then the second session was the Friday, which was myself and another lad who got told he was called Taxi. It wasn't, you weren't sort of paired up with somebody as much as kind of a battle buddy. It was more everyone's brand new, if you like. But it was good. It was a hard session. Felt like I had muscles aching that I didn't know existed by the end of it. The music round I remember very well, as he did The Cure, Friday I'm in Love, and every time it was just exercises throughout it. Every time he sang the word Friday, you were doing burpees. Now at the time I hated burpees. I couldn't stand them. So to do that many when he's repeatedly saying Friday in that song was quite uncomfortable after already 40 minutes of exercise, but didn't want to not save face, so we got through them and got some time to go home and enjoy the aches.
Obviously, you weren't sure how you were going to find the acclimatization after having time off. You were almost, apart from Westy, almost all new together. What were the first few weeks like in kind of being like a cohort of FNGs? How did you find that? What were your sort of feelings and experiences of starting somewhere as a group fresh?
I feel like it felt more in the first few weeks like everyone's brand new, but the brotherhood and the family of what it was with the originals came together very quickly. And then even now, it seems like we with the originals, and then there's been like 2 FNGs that day, 1 FNG. Everyone joins into that family, but you always go back to that time in January. And when people are joining in July and August, you're telling them about the times when it was, oh, you think it's cold this morning, 3 degrees. No, you know nothing. When you're slipping on the black ice and stuff like that, you're telling them about the good old days. Or it's getting to December, you think, oh, it's going to get colder in January. January was different ball game. February is freezing cold as well. So you want to get yourself in now before it gets too cold, because the cold will put you off. So once you get obsessed with it, that won't put you off. During the summer, when obviously a lot of people are away on the holidays and time off and stuff like that, there was a few sessions where it was back down to the lower numbers. We were getting well above 20 at one point. And then when it got to you having 6 and 7 again, you feel a bit more like together. There's not as much background chitter chatter kind of thing. When you've got like 20, I think the most we had was like 22 at one point. You're always going to have those little bits of conversations going around. You don't feel as together. So when you get the lower numbers, it felt like what you would say was like the original days, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. When you're on 7 and 8, that's kind of the intended size of an AO, really. Can you kind of put your finger on the things that you think caused you to gel so well together at the beginning? You got any sense of that?
I feel like it's probably just because we were all there for the same reason. We were kind of in it together. I think majority of people there wanted to have the first F. They wanted the improvement in the fitness, or they wanted to improve already good fitness. We've had people turn up that were very physically fit and were, like myself, half decent long distance runners. But then when you start doing static exercises, it's a different ball game. So it's good for people to achieve things at different pace, because you can keep everybody else going. And because we did that so early on, where everyone's knackered at the same time, the camaraderie comes much faster. It's not like we've been going for 3 years and then an FNG comes along. You've got a bigger group that's formed relatively quickly.
Yeah, it has formed quickly. I mean, those numbers, 22, I think you said was one of the largest beatdowns. Great, it's fantastic numbers. And having formed just over a year ago, you've just gone over your first regional birthday as the Northeast. Yeah. So yeah, well done. Happy birthday. You're now at 2 AOs.
Yes.
Do you give us a quick overview of what they are and how they run and who's running those AOs?
Yeah, so the original AO is in a little village called Wrighton. We call it the Pits. That runs on a Tuesday and a Friday, 6 till 6:45. The second AO, we set it up in July of this year. So sorry, the Pits, the AOQ for the Pits is DJ, who you will have met at the Convergence. The AOQ of the Ironworks is myself. So the Ironworks is the one we set up in July. We decided we want to branch out a bit closer to one of the other bigger villages in the area. And there's a place we refer to as the Derwent Walk, which is along Derwent River, and some really good areas in there, some good green areas, and there's a disused car park, which was the old Swalwell Visitor Centre. And the only time that car park's ever used is runners, dog walkers, early doors. So we get the odd car turns up. At the time, they were looking at us thinking, what are these lunatics doing? But it's just really good open space we can use. So we did a bit of looking around, decided on that one. And what we were hoping for was the extending villages further on that were closer to that region would start maybe hitting up some new FNGs, which we have. I think we've had about 8 or 9 FNGs through since July. Some of them haven't stuck with it, but we've had a decent amount that have come. They only go there, but then there's the odd ones that think, right, I want to do both. I want to be coming up to the Pits as well. So we've gained at the Pits as well, which is great. There was a couple of lads who were coming to the Pits quite regularly, who were from that way on. We were kind of hoping they would step in and maybe take on some more roles, and then we can then think, right, this is now fully established, and we can look at the next one. I believe Westy's idea for the next one is Newcastle City Centre.
It's certainly got the population size to attract.
Yes, a lot of student side of things as well. So walking distance for the students in Newcastle City Centre, and once you tap into that, I think we'll be golden.
Yeah, I had that conversation with Guardian actually, because both Birmingham and Leeds have got pretty decent university cities. We both toured the idea of putting an AO right next to the universities. Problem with that is students aren't there all of the year, and they may not be the best demographic to get up early to hit a beatdown. So pros and cons. I think it's certainly got the potential number of targets, but the likelihood of converting them to an FNG is probably lower.
So you need to get some cross-pollination discussions going with Goblin as he's still working out and doing Bilbao, you know? You just don't know. I mean, actually, to be fair, that reminds me, we talked a bit about one of the Surrey and Sussex AOs was doing evenings, didn't we? They did a few weeks of them. I need to try and find out the skinny on what actually happened over those sessions, see if that translated to mornings or whether that would mean they end up doing more evenings. You just don't know. I mean, it's a good plan. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about Newcastle being incredibly busy and vibrant nowadays. Like you say, if you've got the people and the people that are at the core committed, all you can do is have a go, can't you? And if it doesn't work after a good try, that's not failure's our greatest teacher. We've got a brand new AOQ at the Brook. Gunner started as AOQ on Saturday, and he and I have been chatting a bit about, where to go and look. There was a couple of places between us we've identified in Wimbledon. And I think some point soon we'll be road tripping that and going and have a look, seeing what could be about another day, just being smart and learning from other regions like the Midlands, like Leeds, where people have kind of gone, you don't have to totally spin off. You can kind of support together. And yeah, it's good. You've shared with us kind of a bit of highlight stuff already, haven't you, about the way men have come together. Have you got any kind of stories of how you've seen people growing because of their engagement with your sites?
Yeah, I feel like I keep going back to the fact that everyone was new, so you see a lot of growth in people quite quickly. I feel like a lot of our packs have developed, whether that be the fitness side of things, the mental health side of things, or dealing with adversity. There's a couple of examples I can think of. There's one bloke who comes along. He's known as Analog. Now, he's called Analog because he is so against technology. He's so behind the times. He's not even on band. It's that kind of person. He comes along to the beatdowns and buys somebody else HCing for him. He can't work technology. He's 56-year-old. Let's say he's 56 years young. The first time he ever came along, yes, he wasn't as quick as anybody else, but he did what he can do. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a conversation with him, and he was telling us about the first time he turned up, he was really struggling to do even one burpee because of just the nature of what you have to do when you do a burpee. And now he's doing them relatively comfortably. He's managing to keep up with the cadence that other people do. And I think just that persistence of somebody at that age getting into fitness and thinking, I need to better myself. And he's kind of got that focus and that drive to just keep turning up, even though he absolutely hates early mornings, but he still comes along. He picks up one of the lads on the way down as well. So he enjoys that kind of camaraderie kind of thing as well. And despite the fact that he's not somebody that I would regularly message or could message on band because he's not on it, when I've been going through some stuff this last year, he's always gone out of his way to kind of check in with me when we're standing having a quick cuppa afterwards in the chat. He's thinking about everybody else. He's a great bloke, really good bloke, but his progression is driven by his own kind of self-belief, and he's a typical bloke that will work hard, but then he'll always tell you, I'm knackered and I hated that, but I loved it at the same time. So, and it never puts him off coming back. And the way you see him exercising now, and the fact that he's done his VQ as well, which might put on a brave face, but you could tell behind the scenes he was nervous to do it, and he was, the thought of exercising and calling exercises out at the same time, obviously, as we all know, is harder. It's much harder being the queue, but he did that amazingly well. And yes, I don't think he'll be somebody who will regularly queue like some of us, but the difference in his confidence level after he's done that, you can see it all over his face. He was chuffed to bits when he finished. One other one I was thinking about was there's a lad who he started off at the Ironworks. He's another one of the school dads that I've known for a while. He's known as Great Scott. He's known as Great Scott because he loves Back to the Future. Little story on the side of that. One of the lads from our packs did a beatdown, which was Back to the Future themed, and he called Great Scott regularly throughout it in the way that Doc Brown would in Back to the Future. And every time he did that, we had to do 3 burpees. So now that we have somebody called Great Scott, whenever he's at the beatdown, if you watch any of our Name-A-Rama videos, we all do 3 burpees when he's at beatdown. So, yeah, sometimes it's not great when he turns up when you're knackered at the end, but we work with it. I can remember his first beatdown he turned up to, and he was feeling things I don't think he's ever felt before in muscles, but he was like a broken man leaving. He said he loved it. He said he'd be back, and he has been. Now, on a more personal level, I know that he's got a lot on with one of his kids. So the fact that he has got as much focus on F3 to the point of, he said, right, I've picked my VQ date. He was sending me ideas. He was sending me how he was going to link all the content in. He was quite excited to actually do it. And something came up and he couldn't do it. He had to sack it off. Somebody took it in his place. And I thought that maybe that's one that's just potentially not going to come, depending on when he can get himself back, because it's not just a short-term thing, what he's got going on. But that delayed VQ happened last week. Unfortunately wasn't there because of work commitment, but everybody loved it. He loved the content, and it's like I said before, it's the working through the adversity side of things for him. He's still kind of focused on, I need to get back to F3, because he appreciates the fitness side of things, and it was helping him. He came along to one of the fees and he shared a bit there, and it was quite emotional to listen to the side of things, because he's quite a proud man. But he talked a little bit about how difficult things are with stuff at home, and it was just nice to be able to support him, and nice that he felt comfortable enough to actually share with us.
Yeah, it's great to hear about VQs going through adversity and the like. This was the one with the rather unusual weight that was used, wasn't it, to carry around?
Yes, he brought a horse from a carousel that he randomly had in his back garden. I wasn't there, but obviously I saw the picture on Band, and he sent me the picture after, because I dropped him a message and asked him how did it go, and he sent me the picture, and I thought, what on earth have you got? And you don't even know how these people come about these things. Now, I knew something was coming because I saw Westy at football training on the Wednesday night, and he said, I'm not stopping around. I've got to go and help Great Scott with something. And I said, can you tell us what it is? He went, no, you can see on Band. And yeah, I love it. Like I say, the weird and wonderful is exactly what I'm about.
Memorable as well.
Yes,
the crazy ones
definitely.
are always the most memorable and the most fun ones, and always make the part of the war story catalogue when you're recounting it to other people.
Definitely.
One of the queues recently at the circuit turned up with a load of proper scaffold poles, and they did the whole beatdown, each with I don't know how they didn't kill each other, with like a 6 foot and 8 foot scaffold pole. Carousel horse. I don't think I've got room in the shed for one of those. Need a bigger shed.
Let's move on and talk about some exercises. So if you were queuing for us and you shouted out, the next exercise is an ultra, what would we expect?
So one thing that I'm known for, that I've done quite a few times and repeated in beatdowns, is the thing that I refer to as a Merkin Circle of Doom. Now, I don't know if this exists in the F3 world, but it's just something that I kind of concocted in my head. So that is all packs in a circle, holding a high plank. The first one does one merkin. Once you do the rep and you call a one, the one to your left does one, and obviously goes back into a high plank. Everyone does one around the circle. When it gets back to the first person, they then do two. Everyone does two, and everyone does three. And basically, you pick a number. It's the first time we did this. I said, we're going to work up to 5 and back down again. It's only 25 merkins. We could all get that done. But then by the time you've planked for that length of time, when there was probably about 13, 14 people there, it starts to become really, really draining. So I think we got up to 3 and said, yeah, let's go back down to 1. But we have actually built it up to do it all the way up to 5 and back down again, throwing some variations in there in terms of starting at 6 and working down to 1, because you can have the mentality of the reps are getting easier, you're doing less. So let's just get through them together. You can add different things in terms of doing shoulder taps in between just to make things harder. And I think it's something that I've done a few times and a few of the other packs have used, because I love doing anything to do with merkins, to be honest with you. That's what I really enjoy.
I don't.
You get a lot of groans.
Yeah,
you get a lot of groans out of that one.
I like doing that variation, similar, same format, but hold a squat. And I mean a proper squat and 90-degree legs, none of this. Proper squat, and then on the format do a squat jump and then back to your squat. So when you get to 5, if you've got a big enough group, that is burning. So it's one of my favorite finishes when I'm queuing. Yeah, I love that format.
I queued at the bridge last week, and I went the week before just to kind of assess the mood and see how the packs were. And the queue, Hooker did, and I've seen a couple of them. If either of you have experienced it, where a queue is called an exercise as a copperhead. You heard that? So basically, copperhead merkins were you go down for a 3 count. So you're here and you go 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, and then the pack's called 1.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 2. And he did that, and they were burning. They would burn big time in a ring of fire. Copperhead merkins. We did squats too. I remember there was a jump at the end, but again, they burned like Billy O, man. I was like, this is really, really tight on my legs. You'd really like, we had Bolt on early doors in Cadence, and Bolt's warmer armor at the wheel always starts with, I used the Bolt special as part of my warmer arm this morning. So 10 wide merkins in Cadence, 10 standard, 10 diamond. He always puts it right at the start, and I still argue that's not the first thing you do when you're cold, but it definitely gets people moving and groaning. It's nice to see that you're a merkin lover. They're a good exercise, aren't they? And the more you do it, the better it is for you.
We had a IT guy this morning queuing at the factory in Leeds, threw in. We did a really good format, a Norwegian 4x4. So it's similar to like a Groundhog Day where you do 4 exercises that everyone and then come back and do 4 different 4. Carry on. One of them, it was a diamond merkin hand release. So hand release on a diamond, which of all the combinations of merkins I've done within F3, I've never done a hand release with a diamond. So, but that's different, completely different when you've got to get out and back. And yeah, good to mix them up.
I've done something I call Cobra Cries. So, you've done a load of merkins, and then I did it as part of a 30-30, and it was in the last 3 minutes where it was all basically around the sort of Cobra push-up position. So you've got your hands in to your side, and you're pushing just here, the torso up, and then we did that into a diamond. So you did the Cobra like that, which was bad, and then we did the diamond merkin Cobra style, and then I got packs to do 3 holds halfway in those positions. I could feel the swearing. I could absolutely feel the swearing, because it was we'd done 30 minutes of continual exercise, because I'm like, I did when I queued at the bridge, they didn't really have any rest. I was like, we're going to do a warmer armor for 5 minutes, and then we're going to mosey for a minute while I explain the thing. Then the thing starts, and it's going to be 12 2-minute sessions, one with a Cindy, one body weight, no rest, because 30 minutes it's not a lot of time, is it? Those Merkins, man, I can honestly feel the bad language trying to come at me. Cool. So we're talking about exercises still. Ultra, do you want to tell us what your most hated or your weakest exercise is?
Most hated, probably weakest as well, to be honest with you, is big boy sit-ups. I've suffered with issues with my spine, lower back pain for probably going on 20 years now. Anything where I'm rotating over the bottom of my coccyx can flare up lower back issues. So I would much prefer to do leg flutters, grass cutters, anything like that. I don't mind a good ab workout, but especially on tarmac, you see more a lot of us at the pits especially go away from the basketball court and use the grass just down the side of it when there's big boy sit-ups involved, just to ease the boniness of the bottom of your spine. So generally I try and avoid them as much as possible. If my back flares up, I've suffered with a slip disc before, and if that flares up, that's me out of exercise for a considerable amount of time. So I just avoid them as much as possible.
I mean, I always got a little bit of yoga mat for big boy sit-ups because I think on about my third beatdown at the circuit when I started, I came home and it was wet and went in the shower. And my wife came in, saw me in the shower, and she said, "You're bleeding down the top of your backside. What have you been doing with these crazy people?" And I was like, "Sit-ups?" And she went, "That's not cool." And I burned what I don't know, it's what I call a tramp stamp. I was like,
Yeah.
proper, you know. So now it's in the car because it's just easy to hurt yourself on those. Grass is a good idea. That's I think sometimes packs worry, but even a beanie, you can stick a beanie down there if you're on a beat down and it's starting to hurt because burn yourself and be bleeding. It's horrible. Oh, well, hopefully that. And you've talked about loving Merkins. Is that your favorite? Is that what you're strongest at?
Probably, yes. I spent quite a bit of time at college with a good friend of mine working on form in that. This particular friend of mine ended up being a personal trainer. So he kind of knew what he was talking about, and he was always pushing. He was the kind of person, if you're doing bench press, he would push the weight further down and say, no, you're holding it. And now you can release it. He'd always push it that little bit further. So when we were doing, obviously, press ups, we would purposely go right down to the ground, a little bit of a hold, and then push right up, and then start working up to being on top of something like what we use at F3 with a brick, and still being able to get your chest down to the ground and push from much lower down to kind of build up that strength to be able to use your arms with full range of motion. So then when we started doing more Merkins at F3, that kind of strength just built up much, much quicker. And the full range of motion is kind of still there. So I think it's because I feel like I've developed that strength previously, that when it's coming back, you feel more stable doing it. I also love during, there's a few of us, especially doing that Merkin circle, that do the reps as slow as possible, just try and wind everybody else up who's really starting to ache. So
That's fun to do as a cue, though, isn't it?
yeah,
When you say down and then you just say hold, and you hear a few people grunt and they have to come back down.
Yeah, I love doing it, but being on the receiving end is also not fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's look at something a little bit outside of the first F in terms of your other aspects of your life where you're accelerating. Is there anything that you may be learning or going through in terms of personal development at the moment? You said you changed work recently. Is there anything linked to that maybe?
yes, definitely. One big thing I'm kind of learning to do is just relax. I feel like I'm the kind of person and with a kind of family that is always on the go. You get to the point where the only time you relax is when you sit down at the end of the night with my other half and maybe get an hour, half an hour together. And at that point, you crash and you're falling asleep on the couch. So you're not actually getting any form of like quality time together. We'll both have quite busy lifestyles. I've changed my job away from a more high pressure kind of environment, so I am able to relax more. I'm switched off from work entirely when I come home now. I've spent 21 years in an industry that I didn't want to be in, so the kind of nature of busy job, a lot with the kids, after school clubs, watching football, my wife going to the gym, obviously F3, it's a lot. And I feel like what I'm doing more now, especially with this change in the job, is to kind of take some downtime during the day, re-energize a little bit. And I think most of that is my mind not being occupied by the stress of work, which helps a lot. Me going to F3, I'm not going to F3 to relax before I go into work, because I don't need that element anymore. So I can enjoy that more, enjoy time with my kids more, and then enjoy time with my wife more as well.
In the kind of span of you being in F3, have you had a sense of how F3 helps you to show up in the hard places of life?
I feel like F3's kind of taught us that any struggle can be dealt with when you've got people around you. I feel like I'm not the kind of person that talks. I know it's generally a stigma of men don't talk. I'm not the kind of person that talks about actual feelings, but I'm much more comfortable these days talking about scenarios, but not how I feel about them. So I'm kind of getting there, if that makes any sense. Like I use my brother passing as the example. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm still not over that line of I want to tell other people how I feel about it, but I'm open to starting that kind of conversation. I feel like F3 has definitely helped me in that respect, that I can stop climbing up as much, and then the mental health improves because I can actually say the words out loud to people. You know, I've openly admitted this year out loud to say the words, I'm actually struggling at times throughout this year. And what I've had back from that is an amazing amount of support from friends, family, and especially at the PAX at F3. I think it's taught us to deal with the hard things by kind of taking them head on and just admitting that at times you need that bit of support, even if that's just somebody showing up at a beatdown and giving you a fist bump saying, I'm sorry about that, but I'm here if you need us. Because previously, if there was a problem like that, I just wouldn't admit it. I would just keep it to myself and nobody would know the problem was even there.
You know, this might sound a bit strange. You know, zombie films, right?
Yeah.
You know, or zombie series. There's always some fool, isn't there, that gets bitten and they hide it, you know?
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of the default man position on a lot of our pain.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when it comes to the woundedness that we suffer with bereavement, moving from a place where you're an island to a place where you're in a pack really allows you the room not only to be honest, but it allows you to be able to say to people who genuinely care and love you, look, you know what I mean? There's a hole here, there's a wound. I think that then helps us potentially journey to a place where the wound doesn't go, but it can be healed, you know, and we're scarred and we're stiff. And if any of us have got big scars, we know that the mobility changes because of scarring, but there isn't that gaping, festering crevices. I guess that the men that have supported you, in some senses, they won't have even known that they were part of trying to help you find some healing. But I think it's just because it becomes natural in us, even though we don't, like you said. I know that there's a challenge. I'm not ready to talk about it, or I can't express and speak it out, you know. But yeah, so I feel like F3 helps us to have the permission not to hide some of our struggles, and I guess that's one of the reasons why the mission's so important, because there's still so many men out there that are going, come and join us. You'll be in good company.
So, yeah, thank you for that, Ultra. It's time to go through to some £1 million questions. I'm going to take the first one.
Can I just say, great Scott. Sorry.
Great Scott. We've got to do three now.
3 burpees. Let's go.
If you could go back to the future, to a young Ultra, what would you change about your life?
I think I would change career paths earlier, change jobs in December. It's a job that I applied for nearly 2 years ago. So it's been quite a while waiting, but the change in how I feel in terms of just going to sleep on a night and not having to worry about work and not worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, or what are my staff going to whinge about tomorrow, that kind of thing. I've basically spent over 20 years working in retail management. Now, retail any time of year can be stressful and high pressured, and I just don't feel like it's any good for anybody's mental health to feel that way, whether you're going through stuff outside of work or not. I feel like if I was to go back in time, I would tell myself all the times that you thought, do I take that leap of faith? And I told myself, no, take the leap of faith earlier. Because that's basically what I've done now. I had a very, very secure job and I've took a risk financially, and going with the element of money's not everything. Yes, you've got to pay bills, but money is not everything. You need to go where you're comfortable, where you're happy in life. And it's more important to actually come home and be a better partner, be a better father, and not be stressed, not be snappy with the kids, because it's not their fault that you have that kind of role. I've definitely got there now. If I could go back, I would do it earlier. I would tell myself, smack myself around the face and say, stop changing your minds, just go for it, do it now.
Maybe you couldn't have backed yourself before F3.
Possibly not. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably has given us the kind of push to think more about myself.
Talking of retail management, is there any link to the PAX Every Little Helps?
Yes, he works at Tesco's.
Okay, fine. Just wondered if you knew him, or if it was because he worked in Asda, which is something different, and just called him Every Little Helps just to wind him up.
There's a PAX called Every Little Helps.
Yeah, he's one of our originals, yeah. And it's as simple as he works in Tesco, so he got called Every Little Helps.
Well, there you go. This is the point where I say to my son sometimes, when you haven't got anything useful to say, don't say anything. Yeah. So
just smile.
It's good.
Just smile and...
Excellent. No, that's cool. Not because his name's weird, but because at that point there I would have just said something silly. Okay, look, this is far more trivial, but possibly more important as a £1 million question. What's in your perfect sandwich? And I'm making notes at this point.
I'm hoping you've heard of all three of these elements, depending on how far this has got down the country, because generally when I mention this particular filling of a sandwich, anybody outside the Northeast never heard of it.
Not Mongolian, is it?
No. Have you heard of peas pudding?
I've heard of peas pudding, yes.
Yeah, because generally it's a very Northeast based thing. So my perfect sandwich is very straightforward: ham and peas pudding in a stotty.
Okay, a stotty.
Okay, yeah.
Translate stotty for Southerners, because they don't know
For
that.
Southerners,
they don't know.
It's kind of like a soft. It looks a bit more like a bun, so it's quite thick and soft, like bread. It's beautiful. If you've never tried one before, you need to try it. And if you've never eaten peas pudding, you should be shocked.
This is giving me flashbacks now to that episode with Mater, where I found all the pictures of all the chocolate bars and put them on the YouTube. So I'm going to go and tomorrow I'll start finding out some pictures of peas pudding.
Peas pudding
and a stotty. And everyone knows what
peas pudding is in a blue can with green writing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there is a brand that's in a blue.
Yeah, and a stotty basically has lots of little holes in it, a bit like a crumpet, but it's
really
big.
Airy bread.
We had a stotty shop in my hometown growing up, and it was banging. It was wow, and obviously it's not a small feed. Yes, okay, so I'm going to confess that, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't eaten peas pudding. I know what it is, but it's on my list of... It's not verboten. It's not one of those things where I go, I'm not eating that. Around here, where we are, lid eels are a thing in pie and mash shops. I've caught eels. I've eaten eel in a Korean restaurant, and it was phenomenal. It tasted like beautiful trout, like stuffed gentle fish. Look, if I'm having jelly, I want Ninja Creamy ice cream with it, not eel with bones. No. Okay.
I feel we can redefine the map of the British Isles with certain lines beyond which certain foods don't go. Jelly deals. There'll be a certain point up the north of London or somewhere in London that'll be right above this line. No one will know them or eat them. Same for peas pudding. There'll be a certain way down, and I think
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
probably going to be South Yorkshire as a estimate. Below
Yeah.
there, no one's really interested or has it, unless they've maybe moved or grown up somewhere different. I'm trying to think of other foodstuffs that are really regional. There's plenty. There's
You
plenty.
can do it with sort of the bap stotty bun type bread and put a picture on the screen. That was one of my £1 million question thoughts before, was if we showed you a picture of this, what would you call it? Because obviously there's all the regional variations. But yeah, I mean, in my wife's family, if we don't go for fish and chips regularly, but when we've had fish and chips in the past, when I ask for something like gravy or curry sauce or even just mushy peas, they're like just such a northerner. I'm like, Midland, and they don't, I mean, Westy gave us some pretty harsh language as being Southerners based, didn't he? Before soft Southern shandy drinkers or something was
Shandy drinking fairies was, I think, the actual term
was
that was
it?
used.
Well, there you go. Yes, okay. Let's continue with the £1 million questions then.
Yeah. We're talking about bringing FNGs in. What's your perfect pitch to EH a guy into F3?
I think the way that I generally EH would be more to push the fun element side of things. I think most people get into fitness because they want to get fitter. The exercises kind of speak for themselves. But when you're trying to tell somebody, I want you to come outside in the freezing cold, really early morning, there's a lot of negatives to what you're saying. People don't want to get up early. They don't want to exercise in the cold when they've got the opportunity to be in a nice warm gym, even though what we do is free. I think if you can explain your own experience about how fun it can be and kind of the banter, the camaraderie that you get with the other lads that are there, that side of things, none of that's negative. You've just got to get the person to think, yes, I want that. I'm going to have to suck it up and get out of the house earlier in the morning, potentially exercise in the rain or the snow or the freezing cold. The people I've spoken to have all been that side of things to talk about how it's a good laugh, how everyone gets on really well. You won't regret it because of those elements that you get when you're there. I feel like I do more ab work laughing at beatdowns than actual ab work, because it's just, we just get on so well and we laugh with each other. So I try and push it that way because it's much easier. You could think about going down the pub with your mates. It's kind of like that, with less lifting pints and more lifting bricks is the best way I can put it.
Okay then. If you could, anyone, and let's just go with that, anyone, who would it be and what would you call them? Because you've got the power to do both.
Okay, so I'll explain why first. One of the big parts, as I just mentioned there, obviously the fun element, the having a bit of banter, having a good laugh is, I'm sure it's big everywhere, but it's huge in the Northeast. The little innuendos, the crude comments, the sometimes fart noises when somebody bends over at the right time. It all keeps you going. It all keeps you laughing. It just adds to the fun to it. A lot of the packs are like that. Some are quieter than others. But there's one particular one who's known as McCutcheon. He's the lad that helped set up the Northeast with Westy. He's got a very similar sense of humour to me. We bounce off each other quite well. And I think being around him increases my enjoyment of it, because it's such a big factor to kind of have that fun. With that in mind, I would go for somebody like Peter Kay as a comedian. So the laughter would be even more so. And if Peter Kay was looking for his FNG name, I would go for Hobnob. And I'm hoping
Nice.
you know why.
Not garlic bread.
No, because that Hobnob's been the military, the Marines of the biscuit world.
That's
Sketch
right.
stays with me. So I think his
He's
name
the
would be
one
Hobnob.
that, when going back to the fish and chip thing with my wife's family, I remember him doing a show somewhere and he said he was down in London and he went into the chip shop and he said, have you got any mushy peas? Have you got any curry sauce? And then he went, has the now moist? And that, as every time they say that to me, oh, you're such a northern, I'm like, has the now moist? It's yeah, that's great. And he's transformed his health recently, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's got himself a lot fitter, and lost weight, started exercising a bit.
Not the
That
only
would be
comedian
funny.
to do that. I see Paddy McGuinness has also done a similar journey. He's got quite shredded. I think he's done the 75 hard approach.
And I think it's incredibly generous of you to refer to Paddy McGuinness as a comedian as well.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, I see that. I've seen one or two celebrities recently have been on the cover of things like Men's Fitness, and I look at them on there and I think, I bet you needed a drink of water after that photo shoot because you look very dehydrated. Feedback time.
It is.
You had a birthday party, as in Northeast, and it was good.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have like a specific going out kind of thing.
You did a beatdown, right?
Yeah, we did a beatdown, yeah. Unfortunately, wasn't there for it because I was working.
Good celebration. Did you have cake?
I believe they did, yes. But it's not uncommon that we have cake.
See, that's another thing to put with the fun, isn't it?
Yes.
There's fun, there's cake.
DJ's kids love baking, so he quite often brings cupcakes and stuff like that on to go with the coffees afterwards.
How's your convergence going, Flea? Because you've got that imminent, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to define it. It's more of a C-sub than a convergence. That's going on the 31st. So that's a 4-hour magical beatdown. I'm not on the planning committee. I've got no idea. I just know I need to turn up at the factory at 6:30 on the Saturday.
Nice.
Kit list to be issued.
Delegation.
That's great. I love it.
It's great.
They've got an organised committee. They've got calls. They're prepping it. They're sending out the kit list this week. Again, that's open to anyone listening who fancies joining us. The 31st is Saturday the 31st in Leeds. Come and get stuck in. You'll be done by lunchtime.
You'll be done in by lunchtime.
You'll be done in by lunchtime. That's the plan. Yeah. But special kudos. So I will take this few minutes just to give a well done to one of our packs, Hay Bale, who's currently in the middle of the Sean Conway 496 challenge. We're now on currently day 20 of the challenge where you run the number of kilometers for the date in January. So he's on the 20th of January, the date of recording, he's just done a 20-kilometer run this morning. Tomorrow morning, he's waking up and doing 21 kilometers. All the way up to the 31st.
How are his joints? How are his knees?
Physio. I took him a massage gun round yesterday. He's feeling it. The guy's running.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say he was doing 20 kilometers at 5 minutes a kilometer. The guy's.
Holy crap.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a different league. I can't even. I can't even do that with a 5K, let alone a 20K. So yeah, he's a fast guy, long legs, tall guy. But he's, fair play to him. He's set his mind on this and he's going for it.
Wow. That is, if you can finish that. This is one of the things, it's a bit like doing a ladder workout, and you start at 1, you get to 10. And then what most packs don't realize is it doesn't really count until you hit 7. And 7 to 10 is the bulk of the work, Fair play to him for that. That is extra.
Well, let's put it this way. As of tomorrow, he's got to run at least a half marathon for the next 10 days per day. It's crazy. I'm here training, ready to do my first half marathon in 4 months' time. He's doing 10 in the next 10 days. It's insane.
Yeah. I might have to pause doing my first half. My good knee is not good. I've got to go and see someone. I did a 5K on Monday and it hurts a lot. So I think I've done something. But there you go. Okay, so you've got a C-sub coming. Anybody's welcome. Are you going to link that or put a picture up or something in the?
It's already up on F3 UK band. So there is a post up on there.
Check that out.
And that'll be going up the update post will be going out this week.
Check that out. I mentioned a couple of episodes ago about doing something called a daily 50. I just wanted to say for a minute how that's going. So the idea was last year I did the burpees every day. And this year I'm doing 50 Merkins a day, 50 squats, 50 lunges, 50-second wall sit and a 50-second plank. And some days it's active. Some days I've been doing it almost meditatively. I bet I could do it to listening to The Who, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the times when I've just gone, right, I'm actually just going to do 50 push-ups straight. And I'm not getting out of this plank until they're done. I did one the other day with my son cheering me on. But equally, I've swapped the lunges out for things like the world's greatest stretch. Really nice to move your body in a simple way like that. So I know there's people who've been doing the 100 burpees a day in January. You've only got 11 days left. It's a lot easier than running half marathon every day for 11 days, right? I would still say if anybody's interested in trying this daily 50, come and join, because I'm not being legalistic about it. I just think it's good movement. So yeah, that's kind of something I wanted to share back with people and say, I've got, I think, a couple of packs that are doing it too. I need to check in how they're doing, but it's good.
Excellent. Yeah, so we're at that point in the show where we just give a big kudos, big shout out to any new FNGs that have joined us over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks now since the last release. We did have a bit of a jump in one because we did the FNG episode. So yeah, it's been a while since we've done this, so a bit of catching up. We've got at Billinghurst, which is our newest AO in Surrey and Sussex region, with Saki as the AOQ. We've got Brains and Flames. At the circuit, we've got Busby, Beat Boy, Chainsaw, Knockout, and Boogeyman. It's a great name. I love that one. The landing, we've got Trunk in the Weir. We've got Goldberg and Red Bull. At the highway, we've got Sez and Beanstalk. And Surrey and Sussex region, we've got Stumps. I think that's the list. Apologies if we missed everyone. Anyway, for those I've mentioned, welcome home, brothers.
Welcome home, brothers. Just a reminder, obviously we've got State of the Nation about to drop, haven't we?
It's tonight. Date of recording is the 20th of January. So that is going to be 2:00 our local time, though. So yeah, I'll be watching that in the morning after I've got back from tomorrow's Beatdown.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. When I saw Huck on Friday, he said to me, "You're staying up, aren't you?" And I was like, oh, "No." It'll never run to time anyway, will it? Dark's got to do his hair. That will take a while, and then it just it'll be 3:00 before they really get going. But,
no, he wakes up like that. He told us on his episode he wakes up like that. He doesn't need to do it.
Just coughed. Yeah, no. So, but do share this podcast, and obviously, for Ultra, if your story helps people up in the Newcastle area, then obviously they can look on F3 near.me just to see exactly where your two AOs are. But anyone, anywhere, map's pretty good. I think it's pretty up to date. You can see where your nearest beatdowns are, and you can listen to us, and you can listen to all of the other podcasts on the F3 Nation family of podcasts. There's some really good content coming out, some good stories. Really go and listen to other guys like us that are just amateurs. We're trying to share good stories. So, yes. Okay, Ultra, this is about you. So, got any final words for us tonight?
I don't like making things about me. So, my final words are more of a thank you to you two. I don't think even I appreciated the time that you guys put into doing this, and there's clearly a lot of time, a lot of effort that you're both putting in, and I think the fact that it's giving people the kind of stage to put the stories across, which hopefully will benefit other people, is absolutely amazing. So just well done. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for inviting us on. I really appreciate it. I felt very honoured when you asked us to go on. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I hope anybody else that's asked doesn't hesitate as well and gets themselves on, shares their own story.
Good. Well, it's been a pleasure. You've been a very interesting guest. I feel like we've peeled off one or two layers, but there's definitely more there.
Probably, yes.
Season 3. But anyway, Flea doesn't want me to keep saying about seasons. I think sometimes he's going, stop saying these things.
No, not another season.
Another season.
Well,
I know.
At the rate these AOs are popping up, it's an ongoing joke, but that's another one that's on the list. And yeah, it's just adding to the total number. So only 10 more episodes to go, Shredder, at this rate.
I'm hoping to have another AO in London by then. So,
okay, 11 more shows to go.
And you might have, you might have South Leeds. South Leeds, was that the pub?
We'll see.
Only 12 more episodes to go.
We'll see.
And Newcastle City Centre, 13 episodes to go.
Yeah. So again, thank you to everyone watching and listening. If you want to contact us, the email address is on the screen above. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And for those watching on YouTube, thanks for doing so. We'll be with you again in 2 weeks' time. That's all for today from the UK and the In Cadence team. Aye.
Aye.
Bye.